What is going on, ladies and gents? My name is Malcolm, also known as Baytuh, and welcome back to another one of my Elden Ring build videos. Actually, my last Elden Ring build video for, I would say, for the foreseeable future until something else new comes out for Elden Ring. But this time around, ladies and gents, I wanted to do a build around becoming a Witcher. Like, I've seen plenty of videos have to become like Sasuke Uchiha from Naruto, or Naruto from Naruto, or Zoro from One Piece. I'm like, well, what about let's become a badass a monster hunter from an open world game we all know and love. Let's become a Witcher, not Geralt of Rivia specifically, but a Witcher in Elden Ring. This is actually kind of a fun build I decided to put together, so hopefully you all enjoy this. So yeah, let's get to it. Alrighty, ladies and gents, let's take a quick look at some of the weapons, armor, talismans, and flasks, and some other quick items we're going to be using so we can become a Witcher. So this one, we're going to be playing a little fast and loose with this because not that many things. I mean, here and there are going to be some things that are going to resemble some things you can use in The Witcher 2 or Witcher 3, or you'll see in The Witcher TV show, which I love both seasons on Netflix. But you'll know when we get there. I tried my hardest. But first and foremost, let's talk about some of the weapons we're going to be using. And first on our list is going to be our steel sword. I decided to use the Lord's Worn Greatsword because it actually kind of resembles Geralt of Rivia's main steel sword that you get in The Witcher 2 Assassins of Kings. So that's really cool. You could use the Bastard Sword. I mean, there's different like silver swords and steel swords you get in Witcher 2 or Witcher 3, but I decided to go with the Lord's Worn Greatsword because again, it greatly resembles Geralt of Rivia's steel sword in The Witcher 2. Plus, the weapon's actually pretty good in Elden Ring, so there's that. For our silver sword for killing monsters, I decided to go with the Claymore because it actually, I mean, it looks like a claymore, but it has that angular shape that looks like the non-upgrade version, or like the upgraded like version 2 of a Witcher silver sword in The Witcher 3, because that angular shape that points downwards, I mean, it looks like a darn claymore, but that's the best I could do. Again, you could use the Lord's Worn Greatsword or Bastard Sword, but because again, Witcher's silver swords and steel swords come in all shapes and sizes, but I decided to go with the claymore because it kind of resembles it. Kind of again, it looks like a claymore. So the third weapon we're going to be using is a crossbow. Since we can use a crossbow in The Witcher 3, I went with the Crippus Black Key crossbow. Hopefully I'm pronouncing that right, which I got at the bottom of Round Table Hold for I think either one stone sword ski or two of them, which I like to call stone sword ski. And last but not least, a seal. I decided to go with the Erdtree Seal. Got mine to +9 because for incantations, for some of the incantations we're going to be using that scales with faith, because this is a predominantly a strength based build with some faith. But yeah, I decided to go with the Erdtree Seal for that one because it scales best with faith. For the incantations we're going to be using for armor, this one really doesn't matter that much because I couldn't find armor or gear that kind of resembles, that has a like Witcher aesthetic, because they mostly wear like some armor plating, but mostly like leather. Like there's nothing like a woven wolf armor from The Witcher 3, or manticore armor, or cat, or griffin, or bear from The Witcher 3 and Elden Ring. So I decided to go with the Fingerprint Armor. It's like the best lean, lightest looking armor with some metal plating. That's the best I could do with that one, with no helmet on. So yeah, there's that. For our talismans, this one kind of doesn't matter that much anyways, but I like them for the added bonuses. The first talisman I decided to put on is the Erdtree's favorite, +2, that raises HP, stamina, and equip load. The Shard of Alexander, which greatly boosts the attack power of skills. The Dragoncrest Greatshield talisman, which enormously boosts physical damage negation, because we're going to be up close and personal with a lot of enemies. So yeah, that physical damage negation is going to come in handy. And last but not least is Flock's Canvas Talisman, which greatly raises potency of incantations, which is going to come in handy for the signs that we're going to be using for, I guess, most of the signs. I would say 75% of the signs that I could actually get in this game that kind of resembles what you could do in The Witcher 2, Witcher 3. For our flask, for we got Swallow to heal in The Witcher 3. That equates to the Flask of Crimson Tear Flask I got for our Swallow. I got the Cerulean Tear so we can, raise our FP, For our Flask of Wondrous Physick, this one is going to be one of our signs. It's going to be Quen. It's going to be our protective barriers, and the main crystal tier you need is the Opaline Bubbletear. Not crystal tier, but Opaline Bubbletear, which significantly negates damage you receive by like 95%. And when you use that tier, it does have like a little bubble around you. It kind of reminds me of Quen from The Witcher 3 when you get the alternate version of it. When you hold down your sign button, Geralt like has like a protective barrier shield bubble thing around him, so that's pretty darn cool. So for quick items and whatnot, this one's a little tricky for like we got a Swallow for our healing, which is the Crimson Tear Flask, but what about like something that could boost our attack, like Thunderbolt from The Witcher 3? The only thing I could find on that matter, ladies and gents, is the Blood Boil Aromatic, which uses FP to enter a temporary state of fervor, which, if I'm not mistaken, this perfumer, sorry if I'm mispronouncing that, it boosts your attack power, which is really handy, but you also take a little bit more damage, so there's that. For another quick item, since we could use bombs in The Witcher 3, I decided to craft myself a Giantsflame fire pot, which you throw the Giantsflame fire pot at enemies and inflicts heavy fire damage to them, which is really cool. You can get fire bombs in The Witcher 3, but mostly I use the explosive bombs in The Witcher 3, but you can get fire ones too, and you can't get explosive bombs in this game, which is disappointing. So yeah, there's that on that end. Alrighty, ladies and gents, let's take a quick look at some of the incantations, which is going to be our signs that we can use in Elden Ring so we can become a Witcher. And before I continue with this part of the video, I do have to say I had to negate two signs from The Witcher 2 and The Witcher 3 because I couldn't find any type of sorcery or incantations or weapon skill art that resembles these signs, and those signs are Axii and Erden. The properties kind of differ from The Witcher 2 and The Witcher 3 with those two sides. In The Witcher 2, if I'm not mistaken, Axii, you can take over someone's mind and they can fight on your side. In The Witcher 3, you could stun an enemy for a short period of time. I couldn't find any, like I said, any type of sorcerer like spells or incantations or weapon skill art that resemble those properties. So unfortunately, that had to get axed. Get it axed and Axii. Sorry, I just had to do it once. For Erden, though, again, those properties, CJ Projekt kind of changed those properties from The Witcher 2 and The Witcher 3. In The Witcher 2, Erden can entrap enemies, trap them for a short period of time. I couldn't find anything like that in Elden Ring. In The Witcher 3 counterpart of Erden, it slows enemies down for a little bit. There's not like a slow status effect in Elden Ring, so I couldn't really do anything with that. I guess what's that weapon skill art? Gravitas really doesn't slow enemies down. It has like a purple effect, kind of like Erden in The Witcher 2 and Witcher 3, but it draws enemies in. It doesn't really slow them down. So yeah, there's really nothing I could do about that. There is the incantation or the support incantation called White Shadow Lure, which lures humanoid enemies to distracts humanoid enemies to a position, but that's not really how Axii works. So yeah, I had to negate those two signs. But for Igni, Ard, and Quen, I do have some stuff for that. Kind of, again, playing a little bit fast and loose here. Let's start with Igni, because this one could be very, there's a lot of variety and versatility with this one, and it depends what type of Igni signs we're going for. Are we going for the Witcher 2 Igni signs where we shooting fireballs, or we're going with the Witcher 3 one, which we could do like a fire shoot, like a spray of fire, or we could continuously use Igni to shoot like a jet stream of fire. So for the Witcher 2 version of Igni, there's two incantations we could use. It's Giantsflame Take Thee, which hurls a massive raging fireball at people, which is really cool. That one takes 30 faith, I believe. The other one on the lower scale, which is probably the same size of the Witcher 2 fireball, is Flame Sling, which throws a ball of raging fire at enemies. So yeah, those are the Witcher 2 versions of Igni. For the Witcher 3 versions of Igni, this one is going to be we can use 3 fire fire things we can use for this one. 2 of them are going to be weapon skill art, so Ashes of War, and the other one's going to be an incantation. The first one is it's going to be Flame of the Redmane, which is going to spread fire spread everywhere, which is really cool. Flame of the Redmane, it's a very powerful Ash of War that could stun enemies. That one resembles Geralt of Rivia's Igni from The Witcher 3, so there's that with that fire spread. The other fire spread we could use for our Igni to resemble that of kind of in The Witcher 3, it's going to be Flaming Strike, which sprays some fire on in the front of your enemies. It has a short range, but then you can go in for the strike to light your sword of fire, which you can't do in The Witcher 2 or Witcher 3, but Geralt of Rivia heated up his blade with Igni in The Witcher TV show season 2, so he could take down a Leshen Lambert, which was kind of weird, but yeah, Alrighty, ladies and gents, let's move over to Ard, which is going to be our telekinetic blast from The Witcher 2 and Witcher 3. In The Witcher 2, you basically shoot like a telekinetic ball that pushes enemies back. And The Witcher 3, you could do the same thing, but it's more of like a burst of telekinesis. Or you could palm your hand down on the ground with it, which is the upgraded version of Ard in The Witcher 3, and knocks a group of enemies back that have you surrounded. And Elden Ring, I kind of have that for the most part, a little bit. The Ashes of War we're going to be using is Stormblade and Storm Stomp. And for Stormblade, you basically just shoot like a blade gust of wind at your enemies that can do some type of damage and push them back just a little bit. The other one, Storm Stomp, you can stomp around like a few enemies, and it doesn't like push them back to the degree it does the alternate version of Ard in The Witcher 3, but you could kind of push them back a little bit in Elden Ring. So yeah, there's Ard. For Quinn, I already talked about this, but for the Opaline, for our Wondrous Flask Physick, just equip the Opaline Bubbletear because it has that protected bubble shield around you that reminds me of the upgraded alternate version of Quinn in The Witcher 3, which you could hold down your sign button in that game, and Geralt puts up a protected force field barrier that can take a lot of hits, but in this game you only get like 1 free hit that negates like 95% of the damage. So yeah, there's that. Alrighty, ladies and gents, let's take a quick look at some of the stats we're going to be using for this Witcher build. And it doesn't matter what level you are for this build. You could be early game like level 10, 20, or 30 or 40, 50, or mid to late game. I'm a level 277, so I have a little leeway where I could put some of these points, some of these skill points. And this is a predominantly a strength-based build, so you're going to want to pump strength and dexterity as much as you can, so you can hit those minimum requirements for the great swords we're going to be using. Then go a little bit above, not a little bit, a good amount above that, so you can increase the attack power of your attacks, of your swings. For arcane really doesn't matter that much for this build, so don't worry about that. For faith, it depends what type of fire incantations we're going to be using for. You want to use for the Igni signs from The Witcher 2 or Witcher 3. If you want to do the fireball from The Witcher 2 Igni, you can use a Giantsflame Tathe, which takes 30 faith, or you want to go the smaller version, which is I think Fire Sling or Fire Catch Me or Flame Catch Me, which takes I think like 10 to 15 faith on that end. For intelligence, doesn't matter for this build at all, so don't even worry about that. We already talked about strength and dexterity, pump those as much as you can. Endurance, this is a physical, up close and personal type build, so you want to pump that at least, I would say, in the mid to high 20s if you can. Mind really doesn't matter that much, so we could use mind, so we could use the incantations, the signs, and Ashes of War that has our signs on them as well. I would say put that at like I say 15 to maybe even 20. That should be good. For vigor, we're probably going to be getting hit a lot for this build, ladies and gents. If you're not good at rolling like I am terrible at rolling in Elden Ring. So I would say you pump vigor to at least like in the mid to high 40s to close to 50 in my personal opinion. Alrighty, ladies and gents, before I close out this Witcher build video for Elden Ring, I just want to quickly touch on some gameplay tips that you could use against your normal everyday Joe Blow and Jane Doe Trash Mom type enemies, some bigger and tougher enemies and bosses. But the thing is, ladies and gents, there really isn't like a special technique for this build because this is your normal strength based type build with some added little faith. And plus the tips can be used against all enemies in this game, tougher enemies, enemies, mobs, trash mobs, and bosses. But yeah, you can initiate fights with either like your Ignisite, Giantsflame Take Fee, Fireball from Witcher 2 to greatly reduce half in your enemy's health, or straight up one-shot them with that incantation. Or you can initiate with something like with Ard with your Stormblade or Storm Stomp, but I recommend Stormblade and not Storm Stomp for initiating fights, because the enemies might react pretty quickly and they could do a reaction and hit you and catch you off guard with that. So you can use that, or you can use like Flame of the Redmane, like just use something from range to initiate fights, like Giantsflame Take the, or even their Giantsflame Fire Pod or your crossbow, to try to either pick them off from afar or try to down their health a fair amount before you go in and finish them off with your crossbow. And of course you can buff yourself out with Blood Boiler Aromatic, which is your Thunderbolt potion in Elden Ring. And of course, for those bigger, tougher enemies or bosses, you can use your Wondrous Flask Physick that has your Quinn sign, which is going to be the Opaline Bubbletear, which significantly negates damage received, which is going to come in really handy. Alrighty, ladies and gents, that just about does it for this Witcher Elden Ring build video. Thank you all for watching this, and thank you all for joining me for another Elden Ring build video, and my last build video for Elden Ring for, I would say, for the foreseeable future, until something new comes up with Elden Ring, like an expansion and whatnot. But yeah, ladies and gents, thank you so much for all the love and support on these build videos that I've been doing over the past few weeks. I mean, it's been letting me stretch my creative, I was going to say legs, but I guess flex my creative muscles, because I've never really done videos like this, because I'm mostly known for gameplay walkthroughs on my channel and let's plays and live streams. And speaking of those, since I am known for that on my channel, I'll be turning that engine, starting that engine back on starting next week with a brand new walkthrough, which is going to be Trek to Yomi, which I'm really excited to do, and live streaming some of Halo Infinite's multiplayer season 2 Lone Wolves, which I cannot wait, because 343 got some cool game modes that I would like to check out. Plus I want to see what changes they've made to Halo Infinite with this update. So yeah, back to Elden Ring. Yeah, this won't be the last type build video I will be doing for this game, again, for the foreseeable future, yeah, but until something new comes out. But in terms of like this type of build video, or like opinionated videos, like I want to do more of this, and it seems like a lot of you come and support this type of content on my channel. So yeah, be expecting more of this type of content, short form content in the future. It's gonna be pretty exciting. It's scary for me since I'm not used to it, but you know, I think I got this. I was trying to do the George Lopez got this, but you know, my voice isn't deep enough or high enough for that. Anyways, so yeah, before I let you guys all go, if you guys can please leave a like on this video. If you guys like what you saw, please subscribe for more content. It helps out the channel a lot. Also, when you do subscribe, make sure you click that little bell next to the subscribe button so you can start receiving notifications when I post videos or go live in a live stream next time. And when you do hit that notification bell, ladies and gents, make sure you set those notifications to all so you don't miss out on any content I post to this channel, be it a walkthrough, let's play, channel post update, or a live stream. Please share my channel and my videos to all your friends and families, cats and dogs, and whoever who nots. And you guys can all follow me on Twitter at Baytuh, Baytuh, if you want to keep supporting me even further than just subscribing to my YouTube channel, leaving a like, share my channel and my videos to all your friends and families. Please consider donating some of your extra monies you have lying around to my Patreon and or PayPal. That is patreon.com/Baytuh, Baytuh, and or paypal.me/Baytuh, Baytuh. You do not have to do all any of those. That is 100% optional, but please note, ladies and gents, any and all donations are much appreciated. And with all that being said, ladies and gents, without further ado, my name is Malcolm, also known known as Baytuh, and I will catch you guys all on my next walkthrough video, live stream, or whatever else I do on this channel next, which is going to be very soon. Peace, I love you all, and thank you all for joining me.